Hi, welcome to Chapter and Verse, part 2 of a revelatory discussion on the horrors of nuclear war. I don't think it's a pleasant topic, but once you learn about the reality of nuclear war, which is bandied about like a tennis ball by politicians worldwide, like the Russians and the Chinese. Terrible. And listen a little bit more. We ended last week's program wondering if we could do a little talk about the politicians today and how they help us or how they not so much. You were going to say something about politicians, William.
Well, Bill, you want to talk about Mr. Biden at all? Otherwise, I'll talk about Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Well, right.
What I'd like to do is to repeat something that I said before. If you look at the danger of nuclear weapons, I just want to share with you. Russia has 5,889 nuclear weapons.
More than we do then.
The United States has 5,244 nuclear weapons. China has 410 nuclear weapons, but there are 9 countries that have nuclear weapons, and if you count all the nuclear weapons, there's 12,482 nuclear weapons around the world. Now, it's nice to have faith in technology.
Yes.
But do we really believe that that technology is going to keep us safe? Previously, William talked about the chances of a nuclear accident, nuclear war by accident. If there are 12,482 nuclear weapons, what are the chances of a nuclear war by accident? I would say the chances are unfortunately pretty high.
Yeah.
So there's an important saying that goes, either we eliminate nuclear weapons or they eliminate us. Yeah. Which brings us, I think, to the political process. If we're on the precipice of wiping out the human race, I would think that the political process would give this issue more attention than it's getting. We're talking about the existence for our children, for our grandchildren, for generations to come. What's more important than the future of our children and grandchildren? So is the political process giving nuclear disarmament enough attention? I don't think so. Now, nobody is, I think there's a common misunderstanding that maybe we're asking the United States to disarm unilaterally. We're not.
No.
What we're asking is for these 9 nations that have nuclear weapons, what we're asking is that they all eliminate their nuclear weapons at the same time. We're not asking that anybody should, disarm unilaterally. So, but if all 9 nations were to eliminate their nuclear weapons at the same time, then nobody would be at an advantage or a disadvantage, but everybody would save a lot of resources that could be used, to address many of our domestic needs. So, just to summarize, I think the political process needs to give nuclear disarmament a lot more attention given the gravity of the situation.
Yes.
Even on the very practical level, what you're saying, right? So the practical level of the accidents that happen that you've mentioned from a nuclear perspective and the devastation that causes, the practical idea that it takes so little for any of these 9 nations to just cross that edge, right? And not just to kill thousands of people, but to wipe out humankind, possibly, as we know it, both of which we want to avoid, I would think. And then the practical piece of, again, budget considerations, right? So in our work with Sisters of Mercy, all of our social justice work is tied together, right? It's intersectional. And so money that is being spent on the Pentagon budget, on nuclear, continued nuclear armament, development, what else could that money practically be used for in a world that is disarming, right? It could be used, again, to feed people, for jobs, for healthcare, for things that make people's daily lives better and actually do make us safer as a country and as a world.
For housing.
for housing. Talk about
Very
a local
important.
issue that is
Yeah.
at a crucial
Yeah.
point.
We had a wonderful spokesman for homes for the indigent people from Providence College. I think he's sociology. He's a very interesting guy. He said that the federal government is working against no housing. They're giving a lot of money to the states. But I think Governor McKee went so far as to say that we got a problem in Rhode Island. The people have the money for housing, but nobody wants it in their neighborhood.
It's one part of the problem. There's also just not enough, not to derail us, but there's not enough affordable housing
Yes.
in Rhode Island at all. We've spent a lot of time in McKee's office and at the State House on this issue with lots of practical solutions on the table and no movement,
Yes.
which is frustrating as a basic need. But again, more money in the budget, right, from away from the military, away from empire building, away from existential threats of nuclear weapons can provide that housing.
President Reagan had a saying, I guess he might have got it from Gorbachev. It was a Russian saying, and it was trust but verify.
Sure.
What can we do to keep some of our enemies from cheating? They do it all the time.
Well, we should point out again there's a new United Nations treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons, and 92 nations have already signed the treaty. So again, we're not thinking that the United States should do something unilaterally or do something alone. What the new United Nations treaty is trying to get all nations that have nuclear weapons to agree to a format that will provide nuclear disarmament in the context of security for each nation. So I think if the 9 nations that have nuclear weapons could cooperate together through the United Nations or through some other forum, those nuclear weapons could be eliminated across the board in a way that wouldn't put any of the nations at extra risk.
That would be very important.
And there are modern verification methods that can be used.
Really?
Oh yes, there's a network of seismic sensors worldwide now.
Yes.
It was put into place with the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So you can tell if a nuclear weapon is set off anywhere around the world. You can also monitor radioactive emissions. You can tell if some nation is refining uranium, for instance, to make explosive uranium or plutonium, and that goes into the emissions go in the atmosphere, and you can tell that that's happening. So there's ways to verify all these questions.
Very interesting.
You know, it's interesting.
Do you think they, like China? China promised Hong Kong, according to treaty, that they would leave Hong Kong alone for 50 more years or something like that. China somehow got it into their heads that Taiwan belongs to them, although Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of Taiwan at the time, fought Mao Zedong. And they weren't trying to unify China, they were trying to separate Taiwan from China. But, you know, they're slippery.
Well, here's the thing. Russia and China and the United States have already agreed that nobody can win a nuclear war.
That's true.
If there's a nuclear war, there will be no winners. No country is going to win. No person is going to win. It's going to be devastation for everybody. So
everyone loses.
So I mean, given that Russia, China, and the United States have all agreed that no one can win a nuclear war, then I think it's imperative that we make sure that we prevent a nuclear war. And as I said, right now there are thousands of nuclear weapons around the world, and actually we don't have a lot of momentum right now to eliminate those nuclear weapons. So something if something doesn't change soon, we're getting, closer and closer to doomsday. I mean, the doomsday clock is almost at midnight.
And Ray, if you don't mind, I'd like to focus back locally just a little bit.
Okay.
We have some fine politicians in Rhode Island.
Yes.
We're about to get another one. We're going to get a new congressional representative.
Yes.
Next fall. We don't know who it's going to be yet.
No, the commercials are on.
Yeah. But we have 2 senators.
Yes.
And we have Senator Reed.
Yes.
Who's a fine senator. He does a lot of things for Rhode Island. He brings money to Rhode Island. He takes care of his people. It says on his website that he has spent his career safeguarding Rhode Island, which in a lot of ways is true. He's been in the military. He's been an officer. He's taught at West Point. He's been a military lawyer, and then he was in the House of Representatives, and now he's in the U.S. Senate. Senator Reed is a Catholic.
Yes.
He's brought up as a Catholic. He's a very devout Catholic.
Yes.
And I believe that he understands morality, the issue of the morality of these weapons.
Yeah.
But Senator Reed does not act on this morality that I believe he understands and should understand. Senator Reed is a strong supporter of nuclear weapons. He doesn't accept the fact that these weapons threaten us. And he supports this new generation of nuclear weapons that Rhode Island is going to be participating in the construction of this so-called Columbia-class submarines that we're going to start building. You look on Route 95, and there's the billboards. It says, "Build more submarines." And they're trying to get the youth of Rhode Island to sign up and learn the construction of submarines. And Senator Reed's portrait is right on the front page of that website when you go to follow it.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to throw out an issue to Senator Reed. Senator Reed, given the chance of nuclear war, there would be such a disaster. I'd like to see you change your position on nuclear weapons. I'd like to see you sign the ICAN pledge. That's a pledge to support this new treaty to ban nuclear weapons. And this, I believe, Senator Reed, would create a lasting legacy for you. You would become known forever into the future. Hundreds of years into the future, you would become known as the first U.S. senator to break the ranks of the U.S. militaristic policy and support the UN treaty to ban nuclear weapons. It would be a change for you, Senator Reed, but you could do it, and you would become known not as just some common senator who rubber-stamped a whole lot of nuclear weapons. You would become known as a senator with a vision of peace for the world and a way to begin getting us out of this dilemma in which we're caught.
For much of our lives, we've lived under a theory called MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction.
Right.
And what do you think about that theory? Has it been helpful?
Well, that theory, MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction, that is the bedrock of U.S. Foreign policy. It's been that for the last 50 years.
Yes.
But let me put it this way. The nuclear weapons so far have kept the peace between U.S. and the Soviet Union, between the U.S. and Russia. They've kept the peace. But they haven't made us safe. They haven't kept us safe.
That's right.
We are threatened by these nuclear weapons that on both sides threaten to go off at any time and destroy us.
Well, and go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you have, I agree, mutually assured destruction. That's what we have right now, mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
If we don't eliminate nuclear weapons, they will eliminate us.
Sooner or
so
later.
we are in a situation now where we have mutually assured destruction. We are going to destroy each other unless we eliminate these nuclear weapons. And so I was going to say, in the political process, every issue needs a champion. We can see that at the state level and at the federal level. Every important issue needs a champion to lead the way, to provide the leadership. And we need a champion, we need a leader for nuclear disarmament in the U.S. Senate. And hopefully one of our senators or one of the other senators will step forward and begin to talk sense about nuclear disarmament.
Well, we don't have a leader politically, but we certainly have leaders, not only local advocacy and nonviolence groups doing this work, but thinking about Archbishop John Wester in New Mexico, who just recently released a letter, a bishop's letter on nuclear weapons. Yet again, bringing this back into the public consciousness, bringing it's a church issue, it's a gospel issue, nonviolence and nuclear weapons in particular. And so this idea of thinking about mutually assured destruction, like we're called to more than that as human beings, right? We're called to more than peace that comes through deterrence, right? We're called to a global peace that's based on an actual safety that we don't have right now and we won't have without full disarmament.
What we'd like to see, let me back up for just a second. We had a commemoration of Hiroshima in Jamestown last week on August 6th.
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And we had our banners up. We were talking about Hiroshima and the arms race and all this. And on the far side of the crowd, there was a military guy, a veteran.
Yes.
And he was mumbling to himself. Some of us heard us. Oh, this is un-American. This is terrible. You're going against America.
Right.
He was wrong.
Right.
We are American to the core. We love our country. We want to see our country survive, and we want to see our country become a leader again. Our country is led in so many ways. We've led in the creation of automobiles. We've led in spreading democracy around the world in many ways. We've been a diplomatic leader, and we would like to see the United States become a leader in disarming these terrible nuclear weapons.
And that's why Reid is such, Reid is such an interesting case study that shows, Senator Reid, how easily we can just jettison this issue of the military budget, of nuclear weapons, from everything else. So he's Mercy educated, so we've been lucky enough to meet with him several times on issues of climate change, which he has been fully supportive of, and passing policies and in Congress speaking out on renewable energy and things like this. And other issues on immigration and Honduras and issues that we care deeply about. But on this issue, on again, the Pentagon budget and nuclear weapons, there's no budging. So it's interesting how, and I think for a lot of Americans, I'm thinking about the person at the event too in Jamestown, who we don't know what other affiliations they hold, but this, being anti-nuclear weapons, is anti-patriotic. But no, we want our country to be the best it can be. We want it to be that leader, and we want it to be better than it currently is.
Going back into Reid's situation a little bit, and maybe this is too tough for you. I don't know. You may want to edit this out of your TV show. But when you look at Senator Reid, how has he gotten elected again and again? He takes money from the corporations that build these weapons. Okay, when you look at his campaign contribution, he takes millions of dollars from the big corporations that make the weapons. Now, Mr. Reid, can't you understand that this is corruption? You're taking the money from the people that are building the weapons, and they're telling you to support the weapons, and you support them because you're getting that money. Please, Mr. Reid, use your innate sense of morality that you were born with, that you were brought up with. Okay, use your Catholicism that tells you that this is the wrong thing to do. And please sign the I CAN pledge and make a change. Break out of this situation in which you're caught.
It just occurred to me that in terms of leadership, you three here on this program may be the most public leadership, represents the most public leadership on the subject before the Rhode Island audience.
We're trying to be ready. We get out on the street with the 10-foot banners and hold it up for people to see.
Yes.
You know, I've got a proposal to put up billboards along Route 95, but I haven't got the donor to put it up, so
Right.
I haven't been able to do it.
Not yet.
Not yet.
How expensive is a sign on 95?
Well, I have a proposal for $150,000 over a year, and we'd put up one billboard each month in a different location along Route 95.
Sounds doable.
$150,000 is pocket change for some people.
Yeah.
I just have to find the right donor.
Yeah.
We'll compare that to the budget, again, to the Pentagon budget, to the military
Yeah,
budget.
compare
right?
that
So, for sure.
to the budget for this new class of submarines.
Right.
It's pennies on the dollar.
Well, and I think it's important that we, all three of us, work with so many leaders and so many activists on these issues, right? On nuclear weapons, but also on nonviolence issues in general, lots of other political issues. There's so many people not in this room right now that do so much of the work and care so deeply. I'm thinking about we have a coalition of peace groups in Rhode Island called Just Peace Rhode Island,
Yes.
where we tried to get, that bill in the Rhode Island House of having Rhode Island sign the TPNW, like we talked about before. We tried to get some
we
other
got the
bills
Senate to
passed.
pass it,
Got the
though.
Senate to pass it last year. Couldn't get it in the House, largely because of backdoor political issues, not because there wasn't support.
Really?
So we'll keep doing it. We'll all keep doing it. And there's so many other people that aren't here that are working their tails off on this issue that care a lot.
Interesting.
Well, we're 78 years out from the first use of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and people have been working on nuclear disarmament for the last 78 years.
It's true.
But unfortunately, we haven't seen anywhere near sufficient progress. So there is the question of what is going to give this issue the attention that it deserves. What is going to, raise the consciousness of people and of politicians to realize the enormous threat that we faced. We haven't faced up to it for the last 78 years. So what is going to get us, over that threshold to address this issue seriously in the future? I'm not sure. I hope and pray that we will develop champions to take up this cause and to preserve life as we know it for our children and grandchildren.
Yes.
But several of the candidates for the congressional district
Yes.
have said yes, they will sign the ICANN pledge, and they will bring this issue up in the U.S.
Interesting.
Congress.
I never thought of that.
Yep. They've said they will do it, so perhaps we'll have a Rhode Island congressperson who will bring this up in Congress.
Interesting.
It's like it's a total mismatch if you look at the enormity of the problem and the harm that nuclear weapons could cause, and then if you look at the amount of time and attention that's given to it, it's a total mismatch. It's totally out of proportion. We're not giving this issue the time and attention that it deserves, given the risk, that we face with these nuclear weapons, either intentional use of nuclear weapons or accidental use of nuclear weapons. But somehow we have to close that gap between the size of the risk and the amount of time and attention that we give it. Right now, it's all out of whack.
And I think the way to do that, again, not to harp on the same idea, but is the intersectionality. How do we tie the nuclear risk and the need for nuclear disarmament to other issues that people are active on and that is in people's consciousness already? So again, climate change, right? Both of them can cause the same sort of horrific end of humanity, end of life on this planet as we know it. We've got lots of activism, lots of energy around climate change. Not enough, we need more, but can we tie those two things together? Can we talk about how climate change and people being forced to be on the move, right? People forced to migrate because of climate change, that puts more people at risk. That puts people and countries have less to lose, if you will, that have nuclear weapons. So can we connect those issues? Are there ways then, things that are hot button issues that people are doing the work on right now, how do we connect this issue to those? I think that's the way to keep raising consciousness around
Coalition.
it. I think so, intersectionality.
If you think
Right.
of-
Intersectionality.
If you look at the photographs coming out of Maui today,
Yes.
Oh.
you know, from Hawaii, if you look at the utter devastation in Maui caused by, you know, fires out of control.
Right.
If you look at those photographs, I mean, what you're looking at is what the state of Rhode Island would look like if a nuclear bomb, you know, was dropped anywhere near here.
God help
That's
us.
what our beautiful state, that's what our whole beautiful state would look like. It would look like what Maui looks like today. Obviously, none of us wants that to happen.
No.
Really the question at the end of the day, right, is what kind of world is it that we want to build, not only for our children and grandchildren, but here and now? Is it a world where, again, peace is based on fear, that peace is based on might and strength and war potential, or is it a world where peace is based on justice and folks having what they need and diplomatic solutions to problems between countries? Which kind of world is it? Because right now we're building the former, and we're putting more money and more resources into that, as opposed to the opposite, to what a peaceful solution could actually look like.
We have about 2 minutes left. Let's do what we did the last time and wrap up your thoughts for today and for the two-part program. Give your name, look into the camera, which is lit up, and say a little bit about what you think.
Well, my name is William Smith. I'm from Jamestown. I'm an activist on this issue. I think that we are threatened by nuclear weapons, and we have to do whatever we possibly can to raise the issue in public, to our politicians, to our media. We are threatened by the weapons, and we have to find ways to get out from under that threat.
Okay.
Sure. I'm Angie Howard-McParland, working for the Sisters of Mercy of the Americas on our justice team. And not only is it about nonviolence and promoting peace, it's also about what is the mindset that we want to have. Is it about, again, military solutions and solutions based on violence and force, or is it solutions based on justice and peace?
My name is William Waters, and I'm a member of Pax Christi, Rhode Island, and our top priority is nuclear disarmament because we believe that nuclear weapons represent the gravest threat to human existence that we face today. And I'm hoping that the United States will provide leadership for nuclear disarmament so we can preserve this beautiful state of Rhode Island and the world for our children and for our grandchildren.
I just had an image in my mind that what we seem to be talking about here is the same problem which parents have when their child finds the gun in the house.
For sure.
And we want to avoid that problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all connect. It's the violence inside of ourselves, right, too, that
Yes,
we have to
Lord of the
address.
Flies.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time, but thank you so much.
Thank
You've made
you.
today a wonderful day.
Thank you for
Thank
having
Ray.
us, Ray.
Thank you.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, we might go do it again. Let's see what the audience says.
Yeah.
Great.
See what the audience says, yeah.